In this video, I'm going to show you how to find the circumcenter of a triangle, and we do that by finding the intersection of the perpendicular bisectors. So first we need to find the perpendicular bisectors, then we're going to find where they intersect, and at that intersection will be the circumcenter. So you can pick any side you want to start out with. I'm going to start out with this one for two reasons. One, it's a vertical line, so I already know its slope, and I'll need to know that when I want to find the perpendicular to it. And two, since it's a vertical line, I can easily find the midpoint. 1, 2, 3, 4 is how long it is, because C is 4 away from B. So the midpoint should be somewhere right here, and that midpoint is going to be 4, 2. So that's the midpoint of CB. And the line that goes through the midpoint and goes off at a 90-degree angle will be the line that has this midpoint and has a slope that is opposite CB's slope. So CB's slope is undefined. So the slope of this line that's going off of here and leaving it a 90-degree angle is going to be a slope of 0. Because an undefined slope is something over 0, and then when we flip it and negate it, we get 0 over something, and 0 over something is just 0. So the equation of that line is going to be y equals 2, because that's the line where y is 2 everywhere. So no matter what coordinate I choose, y is 2 here at 4, 2, over here it's 0, 2, over here it's 2, 2. Y is always 2. So that's our red line right there. And at the intersection of that red line and a line from another one of our sides will be the circumcenter. So we're halfway there. We need to find another perpendicular bisector from one of our other two sides and see where it intersects with this guy. I'm going to choose to do AB next and find its perpendicular bisector. It's going to take a little bit more work than just this guy, but it's not that bad. So the first thing we need to do is find the midpoint, because it is a bisector. So the midpoint between A and B, let's do it in green. Midpoint is capital M, and I want the midpoint between AB. So that is going to be the point that is the average of the x's and average of the y's. So A's x value is -2, and if I add that together with B's x value, which is 4, and then I take A's y value, which is also -2, and B's y value, which is 0, and I average them, I get -2 plus 4, which is positive 2, divided by 2 is 1. And -2 plus 0 is -2, divided by 2 is -1. So the midpoint of AB is at 1, -1, 1, -1. Again, whenever you get a midpoint that isn't on your line, you done goofed. This guy is on my line, and I drew my line carefully to be able to check that. So this is the midpoint of AB, 1, -1. Now that we have the midpoint, we need to find the line that goes from that midpoint at a 90-degree angle to AB. So the way to do that is to find the slope of AB, which I will do in, let's do this color green. So the slope is little m. The slope of AB is going to be the difference in the y's over the difference in the x's. So the y values here, A's is -2, and B's is 0. The y value for A is also, the x value, I'm sorry, is also -2, and the x value for B is 4. And so we subtract those and put them over each other, we get the slope. -2 minus 0 is -2. -2 minus 4 is -6, and when we simplify that, we get 1/3. So that's the slope of AB. We need to find the perpendicular slope. So what we do is we take this guy, which is our regular slope, and we flip it and negate it to find our perpendicular. So if I flip it, I get 3 over 1, which is 3, and if I negate it, I get -3. So I flip and negate, and I find the perpendicular slope is -3. So now I need the line that goes from here at a 90-degree angle and intersects that point. So I'm going to write y equals our slope, which is -3, x plus b, and I'm going to use this point right here, because that's the point I want my line to go off of. I want it to be 90 degrees to AB. I want it to be perpendicular, so I'm going to use perpendicular slope. And then I'm going to have it go through this point. So I'm going to plug this point in and solve for b. So when I do that, and I'll do that in green, I plug in -1 for y, and that's going to equal -3 times what I'm plugging in for x, which is 1, plus b. And now I can solve for b. -3 is what I get here. So if I add that over to -1, I get +2. So 2 equals b. So the equation must be y equals -3x plus 2. So there's my equation. Hold on, let me get my cat out of here. Come here. Say hi. All right, didn't want him turning off the video this far into it. So this is the line that goes from that point and leaves at 90 degrees. So if I graph that line, 2 is my y-intercept. So right there is my y-intercept, and I go down 3, 1, 2, 3 over 1. It does go through there. And I can draw this line. So it does hit this at 90 degrees, and it does go through the midpoint. So it is a perpendicular bisector of this side. This side and this side are equal. Just like before, I had this side and this side being equal. It leaves at a 90-degree angle. Where these two lines intersect, you can see from the graph, it's here at, let me write that in, at 0, 2. So that's going to be our circumcenter. But if we needed to find it, what we would do is we'd take this equation right here and this equation right here and set them equal to each other. So what we would do is take this equation, 2, and set it equal to this equation, negative 3x plus 2. When we do this, we'd subtract 2 from both sides and get this. Divide by negative 3, and we'd find out that x is 0. After we found that x was 0, we'd go back and plug it into one of our equations. I'm not going to plug it in this one because there's no way to plug in for x. I'll plug it in for this one. And then when we plug in 0 for x, we'll be able to solve for y. So we take negative 3x plus 2, our orange equation, and we're going to plug in 0 for x. And when we do that, that goes away, and we get 2. So, oops. So y is going to be equal to 2. And that's where those two lines intersect. Where the two perpendicular bisectors intersect will be where the circumcenter is. If we were to find the perpendicular bisector of this side right here, we'd find that it would be somewhere around here, going off this way, and it would also intersect there. I chose the two easiest ones, knowing that this was a vertical line. I needed horizontal slope to be perpendicular, so it's going to be a y equation. And it hits at 2, so y is 2 is that equation. Then I found the midpoint of this side using this midpoint formula, found the slope of this using slope formula, flipped it and negated it to find the perpendicular slope, and put that slope and that point into the equation. Solved for b, and found the equation of that line. Took that equation and set it equal to my other equation, solved for x, took x and plugged it into the other equation, and got y. And that is how you find the circumcenter of a triangle.